My name is Eugene Peterson, and I'm the chair of the Anne Arundel County Human Relations Commission. The Anne Arundel County Human Relations Commission was placed into the Anne Arundel County charter in the 2020 election. So we're a full part of the charter. And prior to that, we were given enforcement powers for housing discrimination. You can go to our website and find forms, I believe in both Spanish and English, if you feel that you have been a victim of housing discrimination. That's our charge by statute. We can hold hearings, we can hold people accountable. We also have a broader charge to fight to eliminate discrimination in Anne Arundel County and to make Anne Arundel County as both the county executive and the council say the best place for all. I'd like to, at this point in time, take a couple of minutes more to wait and see if we have a couple more commissioners that will join us right now. We have 5. We need 7 for a quorum. So we don't have a quorum yet. So we won't just start with the roll call. For those commissioners that are on, you should have received the minutes that are soon to be, and I have not gotten an official note from Asha yet as to whether we have to formally vote Lakeisha in or whether we can do it formally by either email or do we have to do it in a public meeting. Haven't gotten that clarification yet, but she's standing in and she will take notes again for us this meeting. And we thank Lakeisha for stepping into the breach to become our secretary. And I think we're waiting for, I thought Mary Daydoni would be with us tonight, but.
Tara is traveling. She's in Europe.
That's right. Yeah, I think she has an excuse. I sent Lakeisha a number of excused absences, so I believe she has an excused absence tonight, along with Bay Gaskin, and I'm trying to remember who else. Lakeisha, do you remember?
Hi, I'm only tracking an excused absence for Commissioner Call. Last month, we had a number of. Yeah.
I sent you a couple of more.
Oh, for this meeting?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
So we'll confer after the meeting. But as I said, I know Tara should have one.
Well, Tara's present. She's present.
Oh, she's present. Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Hi. Yes, I'm here. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So Tara, where are you?
I'm currently in South Korea right now.
Oh, wow.
So that's a long way from Europe.
Yeah, that's a long way and quite the time difference, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, I know. I
believe we now have.
So Tara, what is the time? What's the time there right now?
It's currently 7 in the morning.
Wow. Well, God bless. Thank you for getting up that early for us.
Yes, indeed.
Oh, of course.
Indeed. How's the food?
Oh, Mr. Peterson, I love Korean food. It's home, you know?
Yes. Okay, why don't we go ahead and take the roll for those that are on, and hopefully a couple of more commissioners will join us. Go ahead. When Lakeisha calls your name, signify that you, oh, Mary's, okay, now we now have a quorum. Okay, signify that you're here. Okay, go ahead, Lakeisha.
Okay, time is now 6:07. We will proceed with the roll call. First want to say I apologize if I butcher anyone's last name. I will try to do better next time. We have Commissioner Clapsaddle.
Here.
We have Commissioner Kerr-Packwitz. And correct me, Karen.
Sure. Yeah.
Aaron.
Yeah, you were close. Karpowitz. Very close.
Okay.
Sure.
We have Commissioner Dodoni.
Present.
We have Commissioner Agbola.
Present.
Okay. And we have Student Counselor Commissioner Kim.
Here.
Chairman Peterson.
Present.
And I'm not really know who is the exclam 22.
That is Chanel, I believe.
Chanel. Oh, for Chanel Clemmings. And we have present Chanel Clemmings. What is Chanel's title? If she can unmute.
Chanel, what is your title?
I'm here, thank you. Equal Opportunity, Fair Housing, and Human Relations Assistant.
And she's standing in for our Human Relations Officer tonight.
Indeed.
Okay.
Indeed.
Who's not feeling well, Asha Smith. Okay.
And Commissioner Hatcher, are you here?
Oh, I'm sorry. And Commissioner Hatcher is present.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Dodoni.
Yes. We'll now move to all of you gotten the minutes. So I want to move to approval of the minutes. I hope you've had a chance to look at them. Any questions or revisions, and those would be of a typographical or a non-substantive manner, can be sent to Lakeisha, and she will go ahead and make those revisions. So is there a motion?
I move to accept the minutes pending any minor typographical clerical corrections.
Great. Is there a second?
Second.
That was second, was moved by Commissioner Daydoni and second by Commissioner Olatusen. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Carried unanimously. I'd like to go into the report here. We had a field trip to the Bush Library to look at the logistics of the Critical Race Theory Forum. Commissioner Daydoni joined me, so I will ask her initially to go in and give a discussion of what the room was like and whatnot, and then I'll add any additional comments. And then I wanted to have a discussion about time of arrival for commissioners, and I hope commissioners that have signed up to attend will attend. And I'll also send out an email encouraging other commissioners who have not attended, have not signed up through Eventbrite to do that. And we will go from there. So Commissioner Daydoni, why don't you go ahead and
I'll be glad to. It's a substantially large room. The seating is, Eugene, I need you to check me on this, but it's going to be between 100 and 200 people. It's around 120 people full capacity. Is that correct? You're on mute.
We've set capacity at 175.
Okay. It's seating for everyone. There are places for large screen displays. We won't be using them. If we were to use them, they would have to be on the side wall. If we tried to use them on the front wall, they would actually be obscured by the panel, but there's no anticipation of doing that. The sound system looks robust. There will be 2 microphones active. at least one, perhaps at least two microphones active, one, perhaps two with the panel, and then one, perhaps two on the floor if questions are to come from the floor. Those mics are individually controlled and can be cut from a control panel. We haven't yet designated who's going to be operating the control panel. No plan for any food or beverages within the facility. Not that it's prohibited, that there's just no room or budget for that, although we're anticipating water will be provided to the panelists. There's also a podium. So if the panelists are speaking individually, they can speak from their position at the table on the dais that's raised about 2 feet, or they can go to the podium that's also on the dais. Anticipating the presence of typical security staff. Have I covered everything, Eugene, that you want?
In addition to that, I think I've said this at a previous update, but I was able to contact the Annapolis Police Department, made them aware of the event. They're aware, they know what's happening, they know the kind of security we'll have in the building, and so they've been aware, they've been made aware, so they'll be making whatever plans they have in terms of this forum, but they have been notified. And I will also make sure, because I haven't done this yet, that we let the county police department know that we've spoken with the with the Annapolis Police Department, and whatever the county might want to add to that discussion, they can.
Chairman Peterson?
Yes.
I don't know if this is a place to raise it, but you and I are both aware that social media information has been sent encouraging people in opposition to critical race theory to take all of the Eventbrite tickets, so that, in effect, to nullify this being a public forum by consuming all the spaces, whether they show up or not. And I don't know if we have any plans to deal with that.
I think, Chanel, didn't we take a look at that?
That's correct. And we did find that there were at least 5 people that participated in securing the maximum tickets, which was set at 10. It has been decided to delete 9 of those tickets per 5 of those, call them hackers for the sake of a better term. So we released a total of 40 tickets back to Eventbrite. The current tickets sold now is 154 tickets have been sold. So that leaves us with about 21 tickets available.
If you would thank you so much. If you would kindly send me the link for that, I have a commitment to distribute it to the NAACP membership, because there are people there who also want to sign up who haven't done so already. Chairman Peterson, where do we stand on having this either recorded or broadcast live through one of the county systems?
All right, Chanel, could you speak to that?
Yes, we will probably have Asha confirm. She's been in communication with Arundel TV. I'm not sure if Arundel TV is able to speak to that tonight, but we will definitely send an update regarding their participation.
Do we anticipate that Arundel TV will be broadcasting live and also have replay available?
If you give me a moment, I can check and get back to the group.
Okay.
Thank you very, very much.
Indeed.
Absolutely.
I just would like to also say that Commissioner Farinas is waiting to be admitted. Something about she's just being seen as a guest and not a panelist.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Participants.
She's been admitted. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I just have one question. I've also submitted notification to District 2 Councilwoman Pickard to potentially attend. I'm not sure if she registered yet. And also the Annapolis Human Relations Commission have been notified of the CRT forum. I'm not sure if anyone from that group has registered for tickets. So
Okay.
I understand that there's only 20 something tickets left. What would I need to do possibly if Commissioner Pickard does want to attend and there's no more tickets? Will she not be able to?
We'll certainly let Councilwoman Pickard in. We won't bar her from the meeting. So I would encourage her office to sign up through Eventbrite. You might send an email to the office and.
Yeah, no, the email was sent along with the link. I think they just wanted to confirm her calendar before registering.
Then let them know that we're running out of tickets.
Okay.
Are we willing to overbook?
No, I don't think so, because that room only holds 175 is comfortable, and beyond that, it's a problem for the library. That was the number that they gave.
So we are assuming 100% turnout.
Well, I mean, if we find that there's space available that night, I mean, I'm sure some people that can take a chance and come, but I mean, the directions from the commission were to have some way of monitoring who was signing up. So that's why we got into this Eventbrite effort. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
May I speak, Chairman Peterson? This is Chanel.
Yes.
If you would like, if the group would like, I can reserve a couple extra tickets just to be on the safe side.
Okay.
If you want, let me know before they sell out. And I do have an update, Commissioner, regarding the Arundel TV. It looks like they haven't confirmed their participation. Alsha did send an email to Arundel TV and they have not responded. So I will be sure to follow up with Arundel TV tomorrow, and we'll send an update to the commission.
If the commission passes a motion that says pretty please with sugar on it, would that help?
I hope so.
I hereby move that we ask them pretty please with sugar on it.
Yeah, and I think I'll check with the library and see if they have a webinar capacity, because maybe we can, if we can't get Arundel TV, at least we can use the webinar if there's webinar potential at the library. So I'll check with Diane on that, Brenner. And
I would chime in that it's extremely important that we have an Arundel TV there, if it's at all possible. This is an issue of major importance to our county.
I totally concur, and I'm sure Chanel and Asha will be on this directly, and I would imagine it would be appropriate at this point in time to ask you, Chanel, when we conclude our meeting, to send another email to Arundel TV and tell them that we need to know.
Okay, I'll do that right now. Thank you.
Great. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Let's talk a little bit about logistics, and we're going to have moderator questions have been sent out, been revised a couple of times and sent out to the panelists. I'm going to send out an email, and I'm going to ask the panelists and any commissioner, I think it would be appropriate for us to show up around a half an hour earlier, not at 6 o'clock, because that would obviously be problematic, but at least get there by 5:30 so that we can make sure that we have folks assigned to tasks. I know, Mary, you had some experience the day we were there with the mics. So could you handle the mics that night, or do you feel comfortable with that?
I'll arrive early and get trained on them, yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. And I want to check back with Chanel, because Asha was going to have answers for how we would be able to distribute index cards for questions, and also whether we were using pens or markers for the index cards. That would require the commissioners be there to help us get that distributed throughout the chairs, the rows of chairs, pass it down.
Is there a possibility to have a table set up to maybe where we can just kind of have people write questions if they have any, and we can collect in that section instead of passing it out in rows?
There are tables in the back of the room. There are at least two, and room to set up more.
Yeah, but I don't know if you want, I don't think that works effectively, because people are going to be listening to the presentation. That's going to trigger a question, I would assume. So I think you'd want to pass those things out during
okay. Understand.
Yeah, that's what
I'll volunteer to help pass out index cards and pens.
Yeah, they can get them as, the meeting starts, and they'll have them there while they're listening, and they can write whatever questions they want to write, and then we'll collect them after we run through the moderator questions.
That usually means we're going to have to filter them. So I know when we're doing this in real time, we've got somebody filtering them. Not only collecting them, but filtering them, prioritizing them. It means we will also need to have some budget for buying the index cards and the pens.
I guess I was going to leave that up to Asha. Said that she would have answers for that. So, Chanel, are you back?
Yes, Commissioner. Yes, Chairman.
Oh, good. Commissioner's fine. Asha was going to have answers on index cards and markers or pens and whatnot, and distribution of those. So do you have is the county providing that, or because we don't have a budget to do that?
Okay, certainly. Do you all have a preference for pencil versus pen, marker?
Whatever is easiest for whoever the individuals. Yeah, I think maybe just pens, and we can pass a number of pens along with the index cards, so people can share the pens, I would think.
Yes.
I'm trying to think of the other question that I asked.
Who will check people in, Gene? Is that done by Eventbrite, or will there be somebody when people arrive? People arrive, they have a reservation.
They get tickets, and everybody should print out their tickets from Eventbrite, so they should come in and give us a ticket, I would think.
I can help with the checking. If somebody needs help to check in people, I can be there early.
Okay.
Thank you, Laura.
Does Eventbrite give us their list of who's actually signed in?
Yes, somebody needs to, as the person that created the event needs gonna have access to print out the report with all the people they are signed in for it. So whoever's created the event needs to print it out the report.
Yeah, and Chanel,
we'll save the table right next to the door for you. Okay.
Okay. And Chanel has that list, I believe, right?
That's correct. I do have the list. I will bring it.
Yeah, she will bring the list. So we'll have the list that night.
Perfect. I can work with Chanel. Looking forward to meeting you in person.
Absolutely. Thank you all.
All right. Trying to think. Yes, Mary.
We've just gone through a change in supervisors. I know we're going to have representatives from the administration there. I know that our incoming supervisor, Dr. Mark Adele, has spoken on CRT in Kansas City Public Schools, but he's not going to physically be here. I think he's still in moving. And Dr. Olato may have a statement as well. Do you think there's a possibility of inviting both of them to offer written statements that we could read on their behalf?
I'll check with our Olato's office and see how they want to handle that. We do have as a panelist Dr. Gillens, and I'm thinking that she will have the school district's position well in hand.
That is true, but the school district is seen as reflecting the attitude of a superintendent. And there's nobody to do that for Dr. Bedell, although he's spoken publicly in Kansas City. So I offer that it might be reassuring to the community to hear his position, or at least informative. And if we're elevating an incoming superintendent, it seemed balanced to elevate the outgoing superintendent as well, which stops the superintendent versus superintendent comparison and presents the unity of AACPS's approach over time.
I'll talk to Bob Mosier about composing something.
Okay, just check, and I think Dr. Tobin, representing the board, would be the one to contact to see if we wanted to get, if we could or wanted to get anything from the incoming superintendent. I think that connection comes to the board.
Well, in my opinion, Mosier's still the PIO. He'll know how to handle it. So I'll leave it with him, and he would check with the appropriate people, I would assume, because everybody likes to keep their jobs. So I don't think Bob's going to make an error, but I will let Dr. Tobin know that I'm contacting Bob Mosier, and getting the idea was that there'd be either a joint statement or separate statements, but some kind of statement from the superintendency of the school district about this issue.
That's the idea, not the individual, but the position.
Right, exactly. Good point.
Quick question before we move on. Is there a possibility, or is it too late to maybe possibly reach our local news to kind of market the discussion, or is it
our local news?
Get that platform, like your local...
The Capital Gazette?
Oh, yes.
I think I sent them the Eventbrite information, but I'll send it out again.
Do we have a formal press release?
No, we have not done a formal press release.
A press release that might go up to both the Capital Gazette and the Baltimore Sun, since the Capital Gazette assignments are made through the Baltimore Sun.
Right.
And perhaps some of the radio stations,
Chanel,
although they don't usually show up.
Chanel, can you check with Asha and see how the county wants to handle that?
Absolutely.
Since we're not an independent entity, we are a county commission. We're independent, but we are a county commission. And I will, as I said, I will send out the Eventbrite information. And I believe I had done that, but if I haven't done that, the problem is that the only link that I know of for getting information out to the Sun is through their news tips thing. They don't have a very,
But that gets reviewed every morning.
Right. So I will send that out, and we'll see what happens.
Course, I think the Commissioner Apter would help us with this. This is certainly his professional domain, and he's in charge of our communications committee.
I'll talk with him.
And I notice it, I'm not seeing it on our Facebook page. And I apologize, that's the only one of our social media pages I go to. And I don't know how many Twitter followers we have, or even if we have a Twitter account.
Well, I've been working with our county website. We have a Facebook page. I wasn't aware of that.
Oh, well, I thought we did. I'm not seeing it on our county. I'm not seeing it on our website.
Okay, Chanel, why don't we post the information on the critical race theory on it? And I'm sure we can, let's post that on our, get with Christy and have that posted on the website page, the web page.
Yes, we'll do.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further questions, comments, suggestions about the logistics for this event on the 22nd?
Parking is severely limited.
That's correct.
Jean, do you feel comfortable that we'll have appropriate security? Or is that still up in the air with the police departments?
I've contacted the Annapolis Police Department. They know the event's going on, and the sergeant in charge said, thank me for the information and whatnot. So it's in their hands. And the library has a security person, but that person does not have police powers. So if a fight broke out, for example, hopefully there would be Annapolis police in close proximity and enter the building and deal with something like that. I don't anticipate anything like that happening, but I think we've made the appropriate connections, and I will again reach out to the county police department, which I haven't done to this point in time. I just reached out to Annapolis because it's their city, and that's the appropriate way to do it. But they're aware of the event, and I'm confident it'll be fine.
Is there anything we can advise about parking?
Get there early. That's the advice.
Is there anything else we can advise about parking? Nearest parking garage, for example, and how far away it is. If that could be added to our flyer, it would be helpful.
Or maybe does the Eventbrite have an automatic reminder that it sends to RSVP? So you could add something on that.
Yeah, that's true.
Chanel, are you taking care of that piece? The Eventbrite link?
Yes, I am.
I don't know if you could possibly add parking information and set it up to send a reminder with parking.
Yes, I can certainly do that.
Okay, and I guess the idea is that because of the limited parking at the library, closest parking availability.
Jean, is there a Methodist church close by where they have parking within a block or so?
Not sure.
There is a Methodist church on West Street, and I'm not sure how far away it is. It's going to be impossible if people are coming from all the way downtown.
Okay.
So excellent question if the churches will enable us. I'm zooming in right now and not seeing the church.
All right, we'll Chanel and I and Asha will figure out whether a note will be added.
Trinity United Methodist Church is within a block.
Okay.
That will be a great option for people to park.
So we would have to talk with them about using their parking space, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
Okay.
What's
I'll look up their phone number and see if I can get a hold of them, let them know what we're doing, and see if we can, Trinity United Methodist Church. Okay.
correct?
And Mary, send me an email with that too, so I don't forget.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Okay, any other further suggestions, comments? Well, it looks like we're well positioned, in good shape for the forum, and want to thank everybody that's been involved, and commissioners, really thank you for all your help with this, and looking forward to the forum. Okay, we'll go to the next item. And Chanel, I don't know if you have any information on this. Asha was going to give, hopefully a detailed update on where we were with the discrimination complaint procedures. So do you have anything on that, or should we just move on?
Okay, I have limited knowledge. I know that she had presented the procedures to the law office, and it's been in review. And hopefully she's able to share that with the commission either tomorrow or next week.
Okay, so we'll get the information via email. Is that correct? What you're saying?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. All right. We anxiously await that information. Okay, since we have a quorum, is there a nomination for secretary, since we only have one person running? Do I hear a nomination? Yes, Joe?
I would like to nominate Commissioner Lakeisha as our secretary, because she has shown exemplary example in terms of Lakeisha, in terms of detail work. You're a detailed person. And unfortunately, Lakeisha, I can't remember your last name, but it starts with H. That's what's on the, it starts with H. Hatcher. That's
okay.
right.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Pardon? I'm sorry.
I said I would second Aaron Karpowitz.
Okay, great. Okay, it was moved to take a vote on Commissioner Lakeisha Hatcher for our permanent secretary for the commission by Commissioner Clapsaddle, and seconded by Commissioner Karpowitz. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Congratulations and condolences, Commissioner.
Thank you, Lakeisha.
And thank you.
Yeah,
I have very big little shoes, because I don't think Commissioner Dodoni's shoes are that big, but oh my gosh, I just Commissioner Dodoni, just hold my hand a little bit.
I will, and I'm sorry I didn't get back to your email and your.
That's okay. I understand. I'm pretty sure we'll have some back and forth a little bit. So, thank you, everyone.
You're welcome. At this point, I'd like to move along on our agenda, and Chanel, do you have a report on the county activities?
Unfortunately, I do not have a report.
That's fine. I'm sure that Asha will, in addition to sending out the information on the complaint procedures for housing discrimination complaints, We'll also send any other relevant information and items that the commissioners may be interested in or need to follow, or the commission as a whole needs to follow up on. So you could pass that along to Asha. We would appreciate that.
Certainly.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, our next item is a report. Commissioner Hatcher, were you able to go to the Annapolis Human Rights Commission meeting?
Human Relations Commission,
Human Relations.
they canceled. This month's meeting was canceled due to not enough on the agenda. So I don't have anything to report for today.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Let's see. I don't believe we have any old business. And on new business, I'd like to have a general discussion. Asha had brought up the idea of subcommittees. So I'd just like to open up the forum and see where the commissioners stand on that, how you feel about that. We are a commission of 13, so I don't think we could have 13 separate subcommittees, but there are some items that, for instance, I've mentioned in the past that we need to follow up on from the criminal justice standpoint, and there may be others. So having said that, I'll open the floor for discussion. And so I see Commissioner Clapsaddle.
Gene, Commissioner Peterson. I think the idea of having a focus in certain areas would be good. And that's the purpose of the subcommittees. And the subcommittee can be one or more people. I think we should have one that monitors the public school system. We should have one that monitors our police department. And those commissioners would be specifically responsible for reporting back to us at regular meetings. We're not like other commissions, and that we might need one because we really have, Asha really handles the housing. So I'm just thinking about other areas that we've had, that we could use some additional input and insights in. I don't know how everybody else feels about that.
I see a hand raised, and that is?
It's Commissioner Dudoni.
Okay.
I thought we had subcommittees, or at least individuals assigned. I thought I was assigned to education. I thought Commissioner Apter was assigned to communications. And I know Commissioner Hatcher was assigned to relations with the Annapolis Human Relations Commission. I do endorse having regular connection with topic areas and entities that affect us. I would like to stay with education, and I would like to include the public library in there. So not just AACPS, but Anne Arundel County Public Libraries, AACPL. My reasons for including Anne Arundel County Public Library is that they undertake a lot of early education programs, and they are subject to a lot of the same pressures that are applying to AACPS. For example, the email that suggested people acquire massive numbers of tickets for our Eventbrite, on Eventbrite for the CRT, also provided a huge list of books that the author of the letter felt should be checked out from the public library and never returned. And I have heard that those books are being removed from the public library by people checking them out. So.
No, you raise good points. So far, we've talked about the police department, but I would put it in a larger context of criminal justice, because some of the things that we talked about on and are still on our website after the murder of George Floyd would be things that the council could take in terms of legislative action, or the county executive could suggest through executive order. And we have done neither, unlike some counties like Baltimore County, which actually passed some meaningful legislation on police accountability and criminal justice reform. I also agree with Commissioner Daydoni that we had loosely organized people reporting back from other things that they do. I don't know if we ever set up a committee, Commissioner Daydoni, but you gave us regular and continue to give us regular reports on the public school system, and including the library, given what both you and I have heard is some of the actions that are going on right now, I think would be something useful to monitor and to figure out if there's any assistance we can provide from a human relations standpoint. I believe that, and I will talk with Commissioner Apter. I know that, for example, Asha and I'm trying to think of Maria Casasco were involved with trying to get stuff translated into Spanish and put onto our website. And I know that's something that Commissioner Arenas is very interested in. So that might be an area where we could ask if Commissioner Arenas could help us with that general idea of outreach, I think is where that would fall. So yeah, I see things, what folks are interested in could become those committee assignments. So I'm looking for other input at this point in time. Other commissioners want to chime in?
Jean, may I suggest that we table this to the next meeting and have the commissioners think about areas that they think we should be addressing so that it is on the agenda and we can all evaluate
Okay.
it. We know already that education in the library is a key thing. We know that criminal justice is a thing. We know that discrimination in housing is a thing.
Right.
But things like Commissioner Farinas's responsibility or interest in having our work translated into Spanish is very important. Things that Commissioner Hatcher has been interested in the past, which is such as our public service announcements. And so I think if we tabled it and then when you send out the notice of the meeting, if you could ask the commissioners to respond.
Pardon?
Commissioner Call is not with us today, but she has expressed interest in environmental justice.
Environmental justice, yes. Right. I think given the direction of this discussion, what I'm inclined to do is to follow Commissioner Clapsaddle's suggestion, but send an email out to the commission and talk about this discussion, make some give some broad categories we discussed, and then ask commissioners if there's a particular area of interest that they would be interested in, and get back to me so that we could put their area of interest along with the other items on the agenda for our next meeting. Is everybody comfortable with that?
Yes.
Okay. The only other item in terms of new business that I'm aware of is Commissioner Apter made a suggestion that maybe it was time to meet in person. And so what I'm going to ask I'll send out an email and I'll take a survey. I think Chanel, we were going to develop a survey format, weren't we, and see what people were interested in terms of in-person versus the Zoom effort. Is that right?
If that's what you all would like, sure, we can put something together and send it for you. Absolutely.
Yeah, why don't we go ahead? Chanel and I will work on that. And we'll get something out to everybody, and we'll figure out how soon we want to move towards in-person meetings, how they'd be conducted, whether or not that limits the participation from people just coming to the site as opposed to this wider distribution through Zoom, and figure out where we're going to go with that. So, yeah. Okay, Joe.
Mr. Chairman, the one thing that would be for us to think about in terms of in-person meetings is we might not have to have them every month. We might be able to do that alternate months. But if we have it in a place and we publicize it, then people who have complaints or want to talk to us directly, I'm talking about citizens, would know that they could come and do this directly rather than have. Some people would be more comfortable with that. So, because I'm just thinking that we might create a stronger connection with the community by having in-person meetings, every other meeting, let's say.
Okay, well, that could be.
It's a thought. It's a thought.
Yeah, and that'll be part of our survey. Yes. See a hand up.
Again, it's Commissioner Dujani. So in 2019, early 2020, we were talking about moving these meetings around the county in order to engage the whole county. Access to these meetings, public access to these meetings is restricted. Even Zoom meetings are restricted. We're panelists. If anybody's watching us, they can't even reach us. They can't even get they can't get a text to us during the meeting. So if we go back to in-person meetings or some in-person meetings, I would like to also reintroduce the idea of moving those meetings around the county with publicity, maybe even a pre-meeting period where we just listen to people.
Point well taken, and that'll be also. I'm hoping Chanel's taking notes. We can put this out in our survey.
I am indeed. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this topic?
Yeah, Commissioner Peterson,
yes.
Or Chair Peterson. I was wondering. I think that's a good point about doing every other in person, but it made me have the question: is the commission supposed to be meeting every month? Is that required? And the reason I'm asking, because I'm thinking if you're gonna get some committee work happening, it might be good to do full commission meetings every other month, and either all of those or some of those could be in person, and then on the off months have committee work happening.
Okay, I will have to go back and check the enabling legislation, which I need to look at.
Yeah, and I can't remember myself either, so sorry to spring that on you.
No, that's okay.
I'll look.
Aaron, are you suggesting that in the off months we would have subcommittee reports, but the full commission would meet in the off months? I'm trying to get a feeling.
No, I'm saying the full commission would meet every other month to give committees time to meet in the off months that it's not meeting. And
then they would make reports during the in-person
meeting. Yeah, that's
Okay.
All right. Again, that's more food for our questionnaire, Chanel, and we'll get that out. Good suggestions, And yeah,
and sorry, just to follow up, like I love the idea of rotating in-person meetings throughout the county. I also know, you know, how much staff work that can be to find the location and do it. And we have very limited, I mean, we're so lucky to have Chanel now, but my understanding, she's very part-time. So I just want to be conscientious of that. So, so maybe we, you know, if we rotated 4 meetings a year in different quadrants of the county, or I don't know, just keeping that in mind.
Commissioner Dodoni, could we call on the library system perhaps to use spaces throughout the county, or is that
I think there are 2 county associated entities that would be possible. Each of the police districts has a public meeting room, and the libraries have public meeting rooms. The sizes vary from library to library, but those are available.
They're available.
Sometimes reserved in advance, not necessarily available on the nights we meet, but those would be the first 2 places I would look.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any further discussion on these on this topic? Hearing none. I'd like now to move to. I don't think there are any announcements, so I will move to adjourn the meeting since we have no further items to look at. And our next scheduled meeting on the schedule we have now is July 21st, which would be at 6 p.m., 6 to 8 p.m. And we will have that meeting as a Zoom meeting, since we will have to take time to digest the survey that we do with the commission. And we will add the items, the discussion on committees, subcommittee for the board, and where we move ahead in terms of how we adjust our meeting schedule when we have subcommittees, and whether or not the every other month we do is something that we can do through the legislation we have. How many meetings we'd have to have during the year, I guess, should be in the enabling legislation, which I will look into. Commissioner Dodoni.
I haven't yet pulled up the enabling legislation. I did pull up the bylaws, and the copy of the bylaws I have are the draft bylaws, which I knew were written to the enabling legislation. And the requirement is that we must meet as often as necessary to conduct our business, and it is possible to call special meetings. Okay, well then that's not conclusive, but it's informative.
Right. Yeah, and that means my interpretation would be that we don't have to have a meeting every month.
But I agree, we need to double check the enabling legislation.
Yes, I agree with that too. Okay, as I said, our next meeting will be a Zoom meeting on July 21st. Mark that on your calendars. And at this point, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Okay, Commissioner Dodoni, is there a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Karpowicz, second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, it's a non-debatable motion. So want to thank everybody for taking time out of your busy schedules to be with us. And we'll see you in July. Night, everybody.
Thank you. Have a good evening.